Seattle's Chinatown International District is a hub for Asian immigrant-owned businesses and senior housing. Since the start of the pandemic, the neighborhood has seen a decline in business and foot traffic. I spoke with community organizer Jamie Lee about life these days in the CID. I know it's usually a huge celebration in the Chinatown International District, but unfortunately, the pandemic has postponed the big celebration. So tell us what's going on in the CID for Lunar New Year this year.
Regardless of whether or not we have a big celebration, people are celebrating with their families as much as they can. I know that a lot of grocery stores are getting ready for it. They have their food ready, and a lot of the restaurants are getting that ready. Last weekend, the Friends of Little Saigon had an event at their space, the Little Saigon Creative, where they made, I think it's banh tét, which is like the Vietnamese traditional thing that they eat for Lunar New Year. And so people are just getting ready, I think, to try to make this better than last year, hopefully.
Well, speaking of food, which is a huge part of Lunar New Year and the celebrations, the restaurants are such a big part of the CID and what really draws a lot of people into that neighborhood. What has it been like for these restaurants over the last couple of years?
I think it's been kind of a roller coaster journey the past 2 years. A lot of our restaurants had to completely reconfigure how they did their business. Takeout was the game, and how they did, a lot of their dishes and how they were able to do that. Many of the restaurants had to figure out how to get online. A lot of the restaurants either pulled in their children or some younger staff to help do that. And they've been able to adjust in a certain way. And it's kind of been the status quo for the past couple of years. A lot of them have suffered, some public safety concerns, some break-ins. A lot of them had plywood up around their storefronts for a majority of 2020. So when dining rooms were allowed to be used again, it was really great for them. As we come on Lunar New Year and a time that we're so used to celebrating and having a lot of people around, it'd be really great for folks to come down and even get takeout and just support the restaurants.
Yeah, and you talked about, the impact of the pandemic and what that has had on restaurants in general, but specifically in the CID. And then also this violence that you just mentioned too. There's been a lot of incidents of break-ins and violence at these businesses to the point where some of them don't even bother calling the police. And it's really hard for these businesses to have to constantly repair their windows and their doors and have things stolen. What's been the response from these businesses? Are they frustrated about this?
Yeah, so many of them are very frustrated. Many of them have chosen either to keep plywood up or kind of modified how they operate, where they maybe aren't open all the time or they're not open for people to come in. Many of them have modified their hours so that they're not open up into later hours of the day so that they can close earlier. I know a lot of them have employees that are kind of scared to come down to the district now. One of the biggest concerns now is not just the pandemic, but also just how can we operate our business, in the district? And the reality of it is that, our neighborhood was a huge kind of transit hub pre-pandemic, and lots of folks would come through it, and the streets are just emptier now, and there's not a lot of people around. And so that's been really hard. And I think businesses are frustrated, but they want to survive and they want to continue to have their business in the CID.
It's honestly heartbreaking for someone like me who grew up going to the CID, and now my mom still sings Chinese opera there almost every weekend. So I'm back in the neighborhood and dropping it off. And, it's been really great to actually see some vibrancy come back to the neighborhood and some life. And that's really encouraging. Would you say the state of the neighborhood right now, and do you feel like more people are coming back and you're really encouraging even more visitors to stop by?
Yeah, I'd say definitely the weekday traffic hasn't picked up as much as it used to be, just because honestly people are working at home. But on the weekend, it's hard to find parking on the week. So that's a really good sign. Yeah, I would really encourage folks to come down and to continue to patronize, their favorite businesses. If they can come down during the week, that would be really great, especially kind of for dinner time and when things die down a little bit downtown. I would really encourage folks to do that.
And there are a lot of positive things actually coming out of the neighborhood too. There's some artwork and murals to try to liven things up in the different buildings and whatnot. But there's also a new Yesler family housing that is under construction as well, right? Talk a little bit about that.
So Yesler Family Housing is not the official name. We're still working on the official name, but that's the name as we have it right now, is a housing unit that my organization, SCIPTA, is actually working on in building multifamily housing with childcare and some commercial on the ground floor. It's just right outside the district. Some of it there has some replacement units for Yesler Terrace, as well as larger family-sized units for low-income families to be able to return to Seattle, return to the area. And then we're really excited to have Denise Louie Education Center in the ground floor and some commercial along Yesler. So it's a pretty exciting project for us. It's the first out of the ground new construction building that we've done, I think, in almost 20 years. So that's really great for us. Yeah.
That's a big deal. Well, your organization, the goal and the purpose is to preserve the Chinatown International District and keep it vibrant. So thanks for all that you do. Really appreciate your time, Jamie. There will still be a Lunar New Year celebration in Seattle's International District just a little later than usual this year. So mark your calendars for Saturday, April 30th for a food, walk, and music and dance performances at Hing Hay Park.